Do you want to be counted wise? Do you want to be counted wise to build a reputation for wisdom? That's where we are. Do you want to be counted? And if you are, prove it. And so when we think about wisdom, it's not just, in many ways, I think we think of it in terms like of intelligence. We'll talk about a definition later. But it's like wise decision making. But he's like, no, do you want to be? Let's start there, because there's a lot of things we want. I want to be a person of faith. I want to be a person of wealth. But do you want to be counted as someone who is wise? And if so, there are certain criteria, certain measuring sticks that will come with being able to say you are that thing. And so that's the latter part of it. In NLT, it says, you live an honorable life. You're doing good works with humility. The Message version says, here's what you do. You live well. You live wisely, you live humbly. It's the way you live, not the way you talk, that counts. Okay? So when we're talking about wisdom and how we relate to one another, it's about our lifestyle. Are we living well and are we living wise, which includes living in humility? And that is not what we say all the time. It's actually how we get down day to day. How we make decisions about how we operate when people see us. And when we make decisions of how we operate when people don't see us. How we do it by ourselves and how we interact with other people. And so is wisdom something that I want for living's sake? Or is my lifestyle proving that I'm wise and understanding God's ways? Those are the questions that we have to ask ourselves, because we understand our impact and our influence impacts other people. Like what we do impacts other people. So we have to go back and say, how am I living? So Proverbs 4:7 in the NLT says this: getting wisdom is the wisest thing you can do. And whatever else you do, develop good judgment. So getting wisdom is the wisest thing you can do. And then you can get some good judgment. You can make some good decisions. You can probably have better interactions with other people because you sought wisdom. So this could be a reflection question if anybody in the room wants to answer it. Consider your life and ask yourself, how am I living? Am I living wisely? How am I actually living? It's one thing I could say, James was straight to it. He ain't cut no corners. And so if he says we have to live this way, then the question is, how am I actually living? What's my baseline at this moment? And is my baseline one when I can say wisdom is actually there? Or can I say, you know what? When I look at how I'm living, I'm not as wise as I really should be in my interactions. Did anybody want to answer when you think about it? How am I living, and am I living wisely? Okay, great. You can answer other questions. Oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Amen. So, we're looking for, as we go, the hope is that you get more wisdom and that the decisions that you make in the future are better than the ones you're making in the present. And then each day you seek an opportunity to say, now, which way am I going? Am I going in the route that I'm familiar with, knowing the results or not knowing the results of what could be the outcome of it? Or are you seeking God and saying, you know what do I need to do now? How do I need to operate? Or let me go back to your word so I can remind myself how you already told me to operate, and am I measuring up? Thank you for that. So let's get into the definition of wisdom. When you hear the word wisdom, what does the word mean to you? Okay. Knowledge on how to navigate. Anybody else? Making good godly decisions. So information, knowledge, making good godly decisions. Learning from your mistakes. I love it. Thank y'all so much. So wisdom is more than intelligence. Y'all ever heard the educated fool phrase? Yeah, right? So many times we think of it's intelligent, and we're like, oh, okay, they're educated, they should be wise. But even with smarts, you can still be very foolish. Okay, so here's a definition of wisdom, and then I'm going to talk about it in Greek and Hebrew so that we can expand our understanding, because it's much more than knowledge, it's much more than just decision making. So a definition is understanding people and situations and seeing the right and best ways to succeed. That's wisdom. I'm understanding people, I'm understanding situations, and I'm seeing what is the right and best way to succeed. What is the right and best way to move forward with that person, with this situation, with that person in this situation. What does that stuff look like? That's wisdom. And so in the Greek, wisdom refers to insight. It refers to a skill that is either human or divine. It refers to intelligence. It refers to clarity. I think we sit in that one much more when we think about wisdom. Clarity, insight, intelligence. But the Hebrew says wisdom is a skill in living. How many of you thought of wisdom as a skill set? We don't. We don't really think that's a muscle. That's a tool. Wisdom is a tool. It is a muscle. It is a skill set in all the ways that you can operate. Wisdom is one of the options you have in your skill set, in your toolbox of being a believer. So it says it's a skill in living. It is shrewdness. Shrewdness is not one of our normal words. So shrewdness refers to acting with wise, sharp, and strategic discernment in practical earthly matters, often coupled with innocence or righteousness. Shrewdness. It is acting with wise, sharp, and strategic discernment, right? It's the ability to be able to understand what is happening here, strategically, how people are moving or not moving, what's really going on in here. But what I love is the end part. It is coupled with innocence or righteousness. It's just not, let me get understanding what's happening, then I can do what I want to do. No, how am I handling the situation once I'm able to discern what's popping off? That's shrewdness. That's wisdom. Another word that was used in the Hebrew for wisdom is prudence. Prudence. Prudence means wise, discerning, and exercising foresight to avoid danger and folly. Again, it is wise, discerning, and exercising foresight to avoid danger and folly. Again, here we go. It's information. It's wise. It is discerning. I'm not just reading and considering the opinions I want about the situation, but I'll pause to be able to see what is actually happening before me. And then the goal, the choices I make, are to avoid danger and folly. That's wisdom. That's the wisdom the Bible is talking about. That I can see, I can discern, I can understand, but the actions that I take are about righteousness and innocence. It is about protection. It's about avoiding destruction, folly, or danger for someone else. That makes sense? Okay. So we say God is all wise, and he is. So the more we look like him, the more we learn how to respond with wisdom. It's just not reacting based on information, but even with the information, I can discern what is the impact going to be on the person when I do it. What is the impact going to be on the situation when I do it? So it is information, it is wisdom, it is strategy on how to execute whatever needs to be executed with the goal of causing no harm. That's wisdom. Okay, so the Bible then starts going through, and I'm going to read 14 through 16, and we start comparing, well, I'll read all of it, earthly wisdom and heavenly wisdom, because James is like, I'm going to tell you what wisdom really is, but I'm going to give you some examples because you need to know if you have chosen to be wise, how do you do it and what does it look like? So I'm going to read NLT starting at 14. It says, but if you are bitterly jealous and there is selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth with boasting and lying. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind. That's earthly wisdom. Okay? That's earthly wisdom. What are we saying? Bitter and jealous, selfish ambition in our heart, and we're covering up the truth with boasting and lying. He said that's not God's wisdom. That's earthly. That's this world system. It's unspiritual. He said, and it's demonic. It's not reflective of me. It's not reflective of my glory. It is not a good representative of a Christ follower. And he says, in NLT, it said, wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, you will find disorder and evil of every kind. That's rough, right? That's the world's, that's the earth's wisdom. So the fruit of all of that, when you operate in that way, the fruit is that when you try to look better than others or get the better of others, things fall apart and everyone ends up at each other's throats. That's earthly wisdom. So my question for you tonight is, can you think of a situation where earthly wisdom was in action? I was trying to be nice to leave it general, but if you can think in your own life, I mean, that probably would help us with our measuring stick. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're saying the way that we're operating right now in the world, with, the rumors of war and the wars and all that is happening, that there's a lot of selfishness, selfish ambition. It's all about me. It's all about what I want. And there is no consideration of the impact of those decisions, the impact of the actions that's taken on all the people that is being impacted by it. Wherever those people are, whoever those people are, they really aren't being considered. It's about me, myself, and I and what I want to get out of it. That was the example Sister Renee said. Anybody else? Go ahead, Sister Vicki.
I think of situations that can happen in families and family dynamics when decisions are made. Things are done out of that selfishness or jealousy, refusing to communicate, etc., and then the kind of disorder and evil that result and destruction, that results from that.
Yeah, so we got families in uproar and falling apart because somebody want this, somebody want that. Nobody cares about really how anybody else feels, even if it's not yours. You're just acting out. Excuse me. And that destruction, division, separation, brokenness tends to come out of all of that. That is earthly wisdom. That's what James is talking about. You get down that way, that is the fruit. That is the outcome that is going to come. Starting at 17 and 18, he's like, hey, but there is another side. There's godly wisdom. There is heavenly wisdom. NLT reads, but the wisdom from above is first of all pure. It is also peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. It is full of mercy and the fruit of good deeds. It shows no favoritism and is always sincere. And those who are peacemakers will plant seeds of peace and reap a harvest of righteousness. So here we go. What is NLT? And the Message version reads as this: real wisdom, God's wisdom, begins with a holy life. It is characterized by getting along with others. It is gentle and reasonable, overflowing with mercy and blessings, not hot one day and cold the next, not two-faced. You can develop a healthy and robust community that lives right with God and enjoys its results only if you do the hard work of getting along with each other, treating each other with dignity and honor. So heavenly wisdom, pure or begins with a holy life. It's peace living. It's characterized by getting along with others. It's willing to yield to other people. It's being gentle and reasonable. It shows no favoritism, and it's always sincere, so it's not consistent with being hot and cold, flip-flopping. It's overflowing with mercy and blessings, and it's not two-faced. And the outcome of it is that when you operate in this, and they called it being a peacemaker, you will constantly be planting seeds of peace, of unity, and the harvest will be one of righteousness, one of good things, and one of justice. So when you think of a situation, or can you think of a situation, general or personal, where godly wisdom was in action? Like, what does this look like? Anybody?
I guess it would be when you see that somebody has really did you dirty, but you chose to still treat them with love.
Okay.
And that person really, for whatever reason, I guess their eyes got open and they noticed what they did was wrong. And then the whole atmosphere tends to change. Mm-hmm. Their whole relationship with you can change because I didn't just come at you. Even though you came at me reckless, I'm still going to show you the love of Christ because that's what I need to do right now, because that's what this situation dictates. Because if I came right back at you, then we could have a whole nother ball game. That could be with family, that could be with anybody else. But showing that love of Christ can help deflate a lot of situations.
Okay, yeah. So you think about the snowball effect. If we get started going back and forth, in earthly wisdom, we gonna snowball and keep going earthly wisdom. Like if you don't enter in with a godly wisdom perspective, I'm gonna show you love, I'm gonna be gracious, I'm gonna show favor, I'm gonna be merciful. Even if you deserved it, I'm gonna be merciful because I get mercy, so I'm gonna show mercy. I get compassion, so I'm gonna show you compassion. It may hurt my ego, right? It may hurt my feelings, but that's the way of Christ. And because I'm a follower of Christ, I'm walking him out. I'm not walking me out. So as soon as I insert it, I have stopped the cycle of earthliness, of worldliness coming in, because now we don't confuse the enemy. Go ahead, Cecilia.
I think of that too in situations where we're talking about Christ. You know, I've had situations where people at work, you know, there's so much of a misperception of who Jesus is out there now. And so people will come at you with, you know, their hurts or their whatever. And instead of like jumping into that argument to go back and forth and, you know, well, let me tell you about yourself, that wisdom has to come into play, because it's like if we're arguing and ready to beat each other down about arguing about Jesus, then what are we really talking about?
Exactly. I started off with asking, do you want to be counted as a wise person? Do you want to be considered? It's a choice. And so if that is the choice, we're saying, yeah, I want to be known as a woman of wisdom, God's wisdom, then I also have to understand there's a cost. Like there's a cost to choosing God's ways, which means as we operate in heavenly wisdom, y'all, there's a cost. That means the cost of, you know, our head and our ego and our feelings, you know, relationships, because they're like, oh, you're just a punk. No, I'm not. You don't even know how much strength is showing up right now, right? You taking the easy way out. You shouldn't act like that. We got to stay discerning, right? The wisdom of God, so that we know it costs more for me to choose God. For me not to choose God and have the impact on your life. Because this could be the one moment. And if I screw it up because I'm in my feelings, because I'm in my flesh, I don't know if you're going to have another opportunity. It costs us to choose wisdom. So remember, James is talking to believers. He ain't talking to the people in the street that don't know nothing. They can operate however they want. But us, there is a cost to being a Christ follower. And one of them is to choose God's wisdom. To be anchored in purity, which is a holy life. Did you have something you wanted to say?
I don't want it to be off topic, but then it just brings me back to application of wisdom. in talking about in First Kings, we were talking about Solomon, and when the situation came, and it was like the mother was saying, "Yeah, cut the baby," but then the other mother whose baby it was, she was willing to sacrifice. Here, take the baby instead. But Solomon was able to use that godly wisdom and to be able to say, you know what, I can see that this woman's compassion to not let this child die. So just being able to be obedient to God's wisdom, that's what made me think of in that situation too.
Yeah, Solomon was discerning. He was able to peep the game and say, you know what, I heard what y'all said. I'm also seeing the heart at work, and I see the jealousy. I see all this other stuff. You ain't right. I can discern what's happening, and so my choice avoids the friction. It avoids all the other stuff, and so he knew what to do. Okay. Anybody else? Earthly wisdom, heavenly wisdom. Great. Welcome to chapter 4. All right, you've concluded chapter 3. Chapter 4, now I told y'all I love James, and he really is straight talking, and everything is about relationships. So he moves from, this is how you get down, earthly wisdom, God's wisdom, and then he moves to like, hey, let's get our lives right. All right? Let's get your life right and get serious about how you get down. So verses 1 through 3 starts off like this. So what is causing the quarrels and the fights among you? If I done told you what wisdom looks like, why y'all arguing, fussing, and fighting in the church? Why are y'all doing all this? It says, don't they come from the evil desires at war within you? You have what you don't have, so you scheme and kill to get it. You are jealous of what others have, but you don't get it, so you fight and wage war to take it away from them. Yet you don't have what you want because you don't ask God for it. And even if you ask God, you don't get it because your motives are wrong. You only want what will give you pleasure. Hold up, pimpin'. I love it. I told you I love it. The Message version says this, right? We just talked about wisdom. It says, what do you think of all these appalling wars and quarrels come from? Do you think they just happen? Think again. They come about because you want your own way and you fight for it deep inside yourself. You lust for what you don't have and are willing to kill to get it. You want what isn't yours and will risk violence to get your hands on it. You wouldn't think of just asking God for it, would you? And why not? Because you know you'd be asking for what you have no right to. You're spoiled children, each wanting your own way. Hello? I told you I had to use the Message version tonight because I was like, he about to check us. Hey, TV Land. He's going to check us, right? This is the word. It's checking you. It's like, hey, I done told you how to live a wise life. I've been helping you with your mouth. I've been telling you how to navigate uncomfortable situations. But we got to deal with what y'all doing with one another. Why are y'all fussing and fighting? Don't worry about it. I'm going to tell you why. He says because you want your own way and you're going to fight to make sure you get it. Because you lust for what you don't have and you are willing to kill to get it. And you may say, I'm not a murderer. You are if your tongue went raggedy. Right? You're a Christian assassin with your tongue. Okay? You want what isn't yours and you will risk violence to get your hands on it. This is in the church, right? He was like, we don't need to do that. I wrote down, it sounds like toddlers throwing tantrums. James in the Message version says you are spoiled children. And he's like, after all that, y'all ain't asked God for nothing. But guess what? Even if you did, your heart ain't right. Your motives ain't right. Because God ain't going to be pleased with this because that's not how God gets down. Any thoughts or reactions to that? Besides, ouch. Yeah, I heard y'all out there at home drinking your tea. Ouch. Ouch. Yeah, the last argument. So I think in the book it was like, hey, think about your last argument, your last fight with somebody. What was really going on? Huh? What was y'all doing and why was y'all fighting? You got something to say, Ramon? Oh, okay. I see that microphone moving. Any thoughts about that? Yeah, that hurt. Guess what? Verse 4 doesn't make it any better. Before I get there, I want to ask you this question. I want to ask 2 questions. What are your thoughts about affairs, and in what ways are we cheating on God in our lives? Right? I'm sorry, the sanctuary just cleared out. They have all left the building. Seriously, like that's what came to my mind, because verse 4 starts out with, you adulterers. That's what in NLT says, you adulterers. He didn't say, do you think you cheating on God? Cheating on God is what the Message version says. It says you are. You are, right? So anybody want to say something about that?
The affairs are totally wrong. And when we cheat on God by the different things that we kind of put in place. We say we not, kind of like when you trying to creep around the corner to somebody else. Well, you know, I will come, but you know, I got such and such to do. Or you put different things in the place of the Lord. Well, I got to wash my car today. I have to stay at work late today. I have to put extra time in because, you know, I really want my boss to notice me with what's going on. Mm-hmm. But we can't get up for prayer in the morning.
Okay. Adulterers, cheating on God. You can talk about other people. It's okay. You don't have to talk about yourself. That makes it a little easier. Let me read the word, and then maybe we'll come back. So I'm starting at verse 4, and I'm going to read NLT. It says, you adulterers, don't you realize that friendship with the world makes you an enemy of God? I say it again. If you want to be a friend of the world, you make yourself an enemy of God. Do you think the scriptures have no meaning? They say that God is passionate, that the spirit he has placed within us should be faithful to him, and he gives grace generously. As the scriptures say, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Right? We're talking about cheating on God in our lives. What does it look like to have a spiritual affair? What does it look like to be in spiritual infidelity? Right? Because we're in a covenant. He said, you know, we're the bride. He's the bridegroom. I mean, just thinking natural. I will be transparent. I did not have an affair. But when I think about my bloodline, because I ain't been married, but when I think about my bloodline on my mom and my dad's side, there is a history of infidelity. And as I was reading, I was like, yeah, we out here normalizing it. We done up here accepted it. We done looked over it. I immediately started thinking about cousins that I met at a family reunion, and I was like, who are you and where you come from? Because you ain't never been in my mama's house, so who are you? And it'd be like, oh, yeah, this is your cousin D. And we just kept moving like it wasn't nothing. And I was like, how about he might have lived around the corner? Never knew, right? And it's just like, yeah, did nobody say something because we said it was okay? Spiritually, we got things in our bloodlines that are affairs, that we are cheating on God. In what ways have we normalized our behaviors, our selfish desires, our selfish motives to get what we wanted, that temporary pleasure that may have had a consequence, and we don't want to talk about the consequences of the sin. We'll just keep nodding and say, okay, that's cousin D. Okay? Yeah. He says, friend, you got something? You feeling that over there? Okay. He said, friendship with the world. Friendships are relationships. Would you say friendships are relationships? Okay, a relationship with the world means you are an enemy of God. And you could be like, oh, we ain't friends, we associates. Any ship with the world makes us enemies of God. And how can we say, I love the one who I don't see? How can I say I'm in relationship and I'm all sold out with the one that I don't see, and I'm doing crazy with him with other people that I see every day? Right? What are we doing? What story are we telling? We're not talking about the world. We're talking about the church. So as believers, how are we modeling a relationship with God through our interactions with the world? Are we cheating on God? Are we having a spiritual affair? Am I looking for someone else to be the lover of my soul? Am I looking for someone else to be my validator, to be my director? Am I looking for someone else to be my provider? Am I looking for a spiritual sugar daddy or sugar mama? Do I have a spiritual side chick or whatever he's called? A side babe. Like, do these things exist? And guess what? The only way we're going to know is if we open up our hearts to the Lord and say, search my heart, oh Lord. Show me what's in me. Because automatically every one of us in here will say, I am not an adulterer. I do not cheat on God. But if the Lord was, that moment when he wasn't so kind and was like, let me help you with your statements so you don't lie again. Flash like a Lifetime movie, all the things that are before us. He wouldn't have said it if it wasn't happening, right? And so I would dare say if it happened then, it did not go out of style. What do we look like? Any thoughts? Yeah.
So it's a lot. So like, just even when you think about relationships and you thinking about, so I was reading in the message how I was talking about, that translation talks about just even flirting with the world. So again, you look at just being able to see where we're at as far as like that, even flirting with the world or whatever, is just like you still having a relationship with the world. But then it's like, to me, I look at that as just being lukewarm. And then like, and that goes back to James 1:8 talking about being double-minded. Like you're not established as far as having a foundation, but like 1 minute you're over here, 1 minute you're over there. So it's like, I really just feel like with, just flirting with the world and stuff like that, you're not putting yourself in a position to where you're giving God your all. So like you're in and you're out. So again, it's just unstable. It's instability. And when you think about cheating in a relationship, it's like you're not getting what you want here, so let me go here and get something from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But then you go back home and then act like things are normal. Like you said, we just have normalized and accepted this behavior as Christians to where we feel like, oh, we can do this over here, and then here comes Sunday, here, Lord, I'm here. It's like duty instead of it being a relationship, and instead of it being a true foundation of a relationship.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Mike.
What I want to do is read a comment that was actually online, if that's okay.
Hey, onliners, thank you.
Deanna Brown said, doing what your connections with the world wants for you instead of being obedient to what God wants for us.
Yeah, thank you for that, baby. Yeah, the verse 5 says, NLT, it says, God is passionate, and that the Holy Spirit, the Spirit he has placed within us, that our spirits should be faithful to him. The Message version says he's a fiercely jealous lover. In all the names that we have for God and all the ways that we see him, do we remember he's a jealous God? Right? All the things. We call him Abba. We call him Elohim. We call him Jireh. We got Yahweh. We got 5 renditions of Yahweh. We got 4 more renditions with Yahweh and other names, and we singing all of them. When have we remembered he's a jealous God? God don't play it. We say God don't play about us in battling, but God don't play about us in his covenant. Hence all the talks about idols. Hence all the talks about altars. Hence all the talks. God is like, hold up, pimpin', I'm already married to you. What is this fake lover that you are seeing? Who is that, Harpo? Harpo, who this man? Like, I'm saying, who is this? That's what God is saying. Who is this, Monica? Who is this that you have flirted with, that you have teased, that you have been exchanging pictures with on your online? Who is this that is taking my space and my affection? Who is this? Who are you giving your love to? Because it's not me. Who is it? Right? Stevie Wonder, part-time lover. Right? Are we treating God like a part-time lover? And I know we're like, I don't want to think about God that way. We need to, because he's the one who says he's jealous. So we have to remember that. Verse 6 talks about God's character and his relationship style. And we always talk about this. He opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. This is how he says I show up in relationships. I'm against the willful proud. I oppose the proud. What is proud? Arrogant and haughty spirits. An excessive sinful preoccupation with oneself. Elevating one's own importance, achievements, or wisdom above God and others. He says my relational style is, and I'm against that. I oppose that. You operate like that, I'm not really for it. I don't get down. I don't want to be in the company of that. He says, but what I get down with is those who are willingly humble. Humble meaning lowliness of mind. It's a heart attitude of meekness, self-abasement, and submission to God rather than just a mere outward behavior. It involves recognizing one's dependence on God, putting others first, and not exalting oneself. He says, I'm against the proud, but I get down for the humble at all costs. So again, relationship-wise, if I'm a person who is counting myself to be a person of wisdom, I'm also saying, hey, God, I want to align with being humble. And I don't want to just be, I'm humble. No, I want to show up in my relationships with humility, not pride. Okay, y'all all right? Okay, so I wrote down, we have to check our hearts and the objects of our affection or desire. Is God above everything else? God above everything else. Okay, let's jump to 7 through 10. Because we always quote this, but this is the first time in my life that I've connected it in relationships. we done already got checked about we ain't right, and we got some work to do in our love affair with the Lord. And he's like, hey, this is the work. Let God do some work in you. These are the things that you can do to get relationally right. Humble yourself before God. Resist the devil. He will flee from you. Come close to God, and God will come close to you. Wash your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, for your loyalty is divided between God and the world. Let there be tears for what you have done. Let there be sorrow and deep grief. Let there be sadness instead of laughter and gloom instead of joy. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up in honor. How do we walk this out? The playbook is this: humble yourself. Resist the devil. The Message Bible says, tell the devil no. When you're in opportunities where you're going to do God's way or the world's way, no, devil, that's me resisting the enemy. It says then if you do that, if you say no, he's going to flee. Okay? Then what do? You come close to God. You say yes to God, which means submission. We submit to God, right? And it says when you do that, God will come close to you. When you say, I don't want that in my relationship. I don't want the world. I don't want what the devil wants. He's like, I'm right here with you. It says, now wash your hands, sinners. In the Message version, it says, quit dabbling in sin. That means after you have recognized and said no to the enemy, don't go back. Like, don't return to your vomit. Don't be like the pig who got cleaned up and all of a sudden wants to go play in the dirty pig pen. All right? He's like, hey, after you have done all that, wash your hands, quit dabbling in it, and then purify your heart. Purify your inner life. When you do that, you will cease having a divided loyalty with God and the world. The Message version says, quit playing the field. All right? Don't go back out there once you done got saved, single, and satisfied. Don't go back out there and be a holy pimp, a holy hustler. Like, don't pick up your old lifestyle, okay? Don't do it. And then I love this. He says, tears for what you have done, sorrow and deep grief. The Message version says, hit bottom and cry your eyes out. I said, that was weird. That seems like a weird interjection. But he was like, no. After you purify your heart and you say, I'm not playing the field, you need to repent, right? And it's not the type of repentance of like, oh, I'm sorry. No, it's a deal with the stuff. Go deep, which will mean you might need to cry. They talk about sometimes you don't get to your breaking point till you hit rock bottom. James said, they say hit rock bottom. Here's permission. Hit rock bottom. Take your mask off. Stop pretending. Grieve. Deal with the sorrow. Don't jump so quick into, oh, I'm good, I'm all right, you a lot, because that stuff is still sitting there. Right? We got to do the work to purge the stuff out of us so we aren't tempted by our lust. We're not tempted by the shiny things in the world to go back to what we just said we wanted to come out of. Verse 10 in the Message Bible reads like this. So get down on your knees before the Master. It's the only way you'll get on your feet. Same version as humble yourself before the Lord, and he will lift you up in honor. So when you hear that statement, what does that mean to you? Huh? Read again. Say it again. Yeah, humble yourself before the Lord, and he will lift you up in honor. What does that statement say to you? Okay, Michelle. When you go low, you'll go high in God. Okay. Okay? Listen, the only way you're getting up and getting up right is if you get down. Again, it's the posture of humility. If we haven't learned anything else, wisdom requires discernment in relationships. Everything requires discernment. It requires humility. Okay? So there's a definition of pride that I wanted to share just to make sure we was all on a, well, I'm not going to do that. This is what I'm going to say. Ask God to show you instances of pride in your relationships. If we know humility is the goal and the requirement, we got to be able to recognize how pride shows up in us. Because I think we're real good about recognizing how pride shows up in everybody else. Okay? Which jumps to now, James is like, okay, now that I done told you all that, let's talk about y'all judging each other. Right? So he done checked us and told us how to get our lives right with God. And he said, okay, let me show y'all how y'all need to get yourselves together because I see what y'all doing out here. Verse 11 says this, don't speak evil against each other. If you criticize and judge each other, then you are criticizing and judging God's law. But your job is to obey the law, not to judge whether it applies to you. God alone, who gave the law, is the judge. He alone has the power to save or to destroy. So what right do you have to judge your neighbor? Checking us all over again. Message version says this, don't badmouth each other, friends. It's God's word, his message, his royal rule that takes a beating in that kind of talk. You're supposed to be honoring the message, not writing graffiti all over it. God is in charge of deciding human destiny. Who do you think you are to meddle in the destiny of others? I know, another ouch moment. I heard y'all out there, ouch. He was like, look, after all this, I'm trying to get you right, but let me show you some other stuff. let me put all the things out there. I love it. James is like, I'm not going to leave nothing untouched. Let me show you all the things I see and I hear about what's happening and how y'all get down with one another. So he says, stop speaking evil against each other. Stop bad-mouthing each other. Because you are criticizing and judging God's law. In the Message version, it talks about the royal rule. And so I was like, what is God's law and the royal rule? Like, what is he saying we're coming after? And it goes back to James 2:8. Love your neighbor as yourself. Right? Love your neighbor as yourself. So if we are supposed to be honoring God's word, honoring God's message and how we live our lives, he says, stop writing graffiti on it. What's graffiti? It's defacing, vandalizing, and devaluing. And so I thought about growing up in the 80s, breakdancing and all that, and they was tagging trains, tagging buildings. It was beautiful creative art, right? It was great. But at the end of the day, it was property destruction. Right? Then people didn't ask for them to go up there and put Tiny Tim, or whatever on there with the little box at the end, They didn't ask for you to put your character out there. They didn't ask for you to have your name going cross country on the train. They didn't ask you to do that. You made a decision to put yourself on something that didn't belong to you. And so here is James saying, with your mouth, with your judgment, you are making decisions to put your name on somebody that don't belong to you. To put your name on somebody's destiny that don't belong to you. You messing up the royal rule. You are beating it up. You are making it look bad. Right? James said it, not Monica. I was just translating. All right? So that's what he says. He says in verse 12, God's business is deciding somebody's destiny, not ours. So who are we to keep meddling in people's stuff, messing up people's destiny? And I began to think about, our conversations and, I'm talking church in general. People hear one place and then they leave and they may have shown up one way in this place, but when they go somewhere else, they show up another way that may be more advantageous to the environment that they're in, and God is using them beautifully. And we like, they ain't anointed. God can't use them. They wasn't, and we locked them into this moment. Who are we? Right? We're beating up God's rule of loving your neighbor as you love yourself, because you're not beating you up like that. If so, we need to talk. Right? Who are we to make those determinations? That's God's business. Any reactions when you hear this to us writing graffiti or, using our judgment in a way that really God is like, that ain't yours? Go ahead, Mike.
A lot of times, whether we do it consciously or unconsciously, we will talk about people even behind their backs. In for me, the graffiti is like, you can be in your house by yourself, and you can think of someone and say something and speak it, and you're defacing that person, even though you're not talking to somebody else. Yeah. And I think I've done it. I'm guilty of it, and that's why I'm getting beat up tonight. But yeah, that's what graffiti is for me.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Anybody else? I know this ain't the stuff we really want to jump in on tonight because it hurt.
I got you. And sometimes that defacing is showing our own insecurities. Because, I see you stepping out doing something different and doing something that, God called you to do. But in my mind, I feel God shouldn't be calling you or even giving you that idea. So how dare you go out and try and do that, but you can't do that over here? It's like, that ain't your business. If this is what God told them right now to say in this moment, that's what God said. So we got to make sure that we keep our spray cans to ourselves.
Yeah, humility will keep focus on us. Go ahead.
Just even in the example of graffiti, you mentioned like how, like in the 80s or whatever, like it's still prevalent today too. But just like the artists and stuff like, I'm 80s baby too, okay. But even like.
Got my graffiti jacket on.
But like you see some of the tags or whatever and like the spaces that you would see, like you would think nobody could get to. But in that moment when they were doing it, they felt justified. Mm-hmm. And so like, and they took pride in their art. So like, I think sometimes we've gotten away from just putting a different spin on, how we may say something. We may not be feeling like we're doing any harm by speaking it. But then it's just in the message how it said, who are we basically to, speak on that situation? That's God's judgment, not ours.
Yeah, I wrote down, we can't keep excusing our behavior, saying we just joking or, we real casual, just talking to my friends or like, my heart. I wrote down, loose lips sink ships, right? We still at this place of, hey, our words still have an impact. Even when we casual and our guards are down, you know what I'm saying? And they have an impact on somebody's judgment, even if they're not around, right? Because if we're not speaking life, we speaking something else. If we're not building up, we tearing down. Like something is happening. Hence the warnings about we need to watch our mouths, right, in the church. Anybody else? All right, let's keep moving. So the last part of it, because I got like 4 chapters, the last part says this, verse 13. So we done talked about judging others. We done talked about like, look, we cheating on God. He was like, now let me tell you about self-confidence and your warning. Here's a warning about self-confidence. He's like, look here, you who say today or tomorrow we are going to a certain town or will stay there a year, and we'll stay there a year, and we will do business there, and we're going to make a profit. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while, then it's gone. What you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to, we will live and do this or that. Otherwise, you are boasting about your own pretentious plans, and all such boasting is evil. Huh? Go ahead.
I just wanted to, Minister Melba said, back to graffiti and all that. She said, amen, first of all. She said, we are all masterpieces in progress, so keep our mouths off people.
Who said that?
Minister Melba.
Thank you, Minister Melba, right? But y'all know it's so easy for us to talk. That's why we all guilty. Like, ain't nobody in here absent from all James talking about. We are all guilty.
It's called deflecting.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're deflecting. We are ignoring. Again, if we look wise in our own eyes, we have a lens, and that lens ain't always clean. You know, you go throughout the day, for the glasses wearers, you go out the day, something gonna rub up on there where you're gonna have to pause and clean that off. If you don't, you squinting and doing all these things, trying to see with dirty glasses, and all you got to do is pause, clean them so you can see clearly. That's what James is saying. We need to pause, clean our spiritual glasses so we can see clearly. Okay. Here we go. Oh, verse 17 says, remember, it is sin to know what you ought to do, then not do it. So here he is talking about people with this extreme self-confidence, for boasters. And it's not just self-confidence like self-esteem, self-ego. He was like, think about what you're talking about. You're talking about, listen, today or tomorrow I'm going to do this, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. And he was like, you know, great, but how you know you're going to see tomorrow? How do you know that you're going to be able to do all those things? And this right here is very humbling, because we are used to declare and decree, name and proclaim, cast the vision, write the vision, make it plain, right? Do your vision board, put all this stuff out there. And I don't believe he's like, don't do it. What I believe he's saying is, hey, how are we going to walk confidently in God, full of faith and full of hope, while remaining humble? Because it is humbling to know I might not be here tomorrow. And to accept that while living out my day in hopes of seeing tomorrow. It's humbling. We have taken life for granted. We don't know if we're going to make it home tonight. We don't know if we make it to the car. We don't know if we're going to wake up. That is the grace and the mercy of God. That's humbling, right? So that's what he's like, humble yourself. I thought of Kendall. Sit down, be humble. Think about it. All your boasting is great and wonderful, but remember, you don't know. So let me help you how you need to word it. I love it that he gave us words. If the Lord wills. If it's in his will, I will see tomorrow and be able to accomplish all of these things. And that is our language. If the Lord wills, I will be able to do X, Y, and Z that I said I will do. But don't get so caught up in naming and claiming and declaring and decreeing that you forget God in your mercy if you let me do it. Because that's the only way it's going to happen, is in your mercy and your will, that you grace me with another day and another opportunity. Okay, that ends chapter 4. Welcome to chapter 5. 3 minutes. Okay, so remember, I told you he's talking to the people who's wealthy. So again, he's like, let me hit on something else I have noticed, right? Y'all been judging. Y'all out here super confident, talking about you're going to do, and it's in pride, not in humility. He then, in verses 1 through 6, calls to account those who have financial means and hoard their wealth, cheat their workers, and turn deaf ears to those in need. That's all that is. So it says in the NLT, look here, you rich people. Weep and groan with anguish because of all the terrible troubles ahead of you. Your wealth is rotting away. and your fine clothes are moth-eaten rags. Your gold and silver are corroded. The very wealth you are counting on will eat away your flesh like fire. This corroded treasure you have hoarded will testify against you on the day of judgment. For listen, hear the cries of the field workers whom you have cheated of their pay. The cries of those who harvest your fields have reached the ears of the Lord of heaven's armies. You have spent your years on earth in luxury, satisfying your every desire. You have fattened yourselves for the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed innocent people who do not resist you. That's hard, isn't it? That's hard. So here's what he's saying. He was like, look, all the things you are holding dear in high regard, the wealth, the clothing, all that stuff, all of it is going to be destroyed and perish. He kicked off that way. Weep and groan with anguish. Because all the stuff you've been boasting about, been riding on, been flexing and flaunting on, it is about to eat up your flesh. It is about to become like maggots. It is going to become corroded. And at the day of judgment, it's going to be evidence against you. Evidence. We was like, I want evidence of Jesus. Yeah. What other evidence, though, will be against us? Right? Yeah, I was like, dang, here's another evidence, right? And so get it. He's not saying we shouldn't have wealth. It's what are we doing with it? And not just doing with it like we're giving to the poor and all. No, what are you doing with the people that may be working with you or working under you or working under your management, your employees who are not fighting against you. They're not rebelling, but you are treating them absolutely wrong. You are withholding wages. You are cheating them of their money. You're not giving them their benefits. You're not doing all this stuff. You're just banking it and getting fat with slave labor in the church, right? In the church. So he was like, look, they're crying out in verse 4. They're crying out. All the people that you've cheated, all the people you've been treating bad. He said you have killed and condemned innocent people. He says their accusations and stuff are coming up before God. Yeah, you think you're getting away with it, but God is saying, hey, I hear the cry of my people, and I am going to respond. I am going to vindicate them, and I am going to bring them justice. That's some hard stuff, right? Have your wealth, but treat your people right. If you're a business owner, don't you do dirty with people's salaries. Don't you do dirty with people's stuff. Don't do dirty. Like, treat the people right. Because they may still be coming to work every day, smiling and shining, but they are crying out unto the Lord. And the same way he heard Ishmael's cry, and he was like, I got you. Don't worry. You're going to be all right. He hears these people's cry, and he says, I am going to act on their behalf. So this is the last verse. I'm going to end on it. I was like, okay, that's how we ended. You're going to get in trouble. Like, that's how I feel. You're going to get it. You're going to get your life right. You're going to get it. So I was like, how do we end this? And I had Micah 6 and 8. Micah 6 and 8 in the NLT says this, know, O people, the Lord has told you what is good. This is what he requires of you, to do what is right, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. The Good News Translation reads this, no, the Lord has told us what is good. What he requires of us is this, to do what is just, to show constant love, and to live in humble fellowship with our God. So at the end of the day, if everything else, I'm serious, James probably you're not going to forget it. But if we get stuck and we're like, what am I supposed to do? It's no question. He said, I already told you what to do. I told you what to do that's good. To simplify it, do what's right, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Amen. Thank you for Bible study. That's the end. I know. James said it, not Moni. Any final thoughts, questions, or concerns? You might need to go home and meditate on this one. I don't know. Anything final?
James chapter 5, verse 16. Confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that ye may be healed. Effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much.
Thank you for that. Meditate on that too. You'll get that next week. Okay. So I'm going to close us out. Please get your offering. You know what to do in house. Put it in the black box. I said the black book. Lord help me. And then if you're online, please use our online measures. PayPal is your friend. PushPay is your friend. Okay. God, I thank you so much for your love, the love that corrects, and the love that will discipline, the love that will pierce us to cause us to act upright before you in a way that is pleasing. I thank you that you will continue to work the word in our lives, that it will not go away because our feelings got hurt and our egos got bruised, but the spirit inside of us jumps for the opportunity to come into alignment, to be a true follower of the way. I bless you for your people, and I pray that you will grant us traveling grace and mercy to get home, and that when we get home and lay our heads on the pillow, we are sleeping in peace. I thank you for restoring peace unto your people on tonight. And if it be the will of the Father, that we will be